Everyone remembers what happened to the recent top picks in the NFL draft. I mean, come on, we do not need to see another video on that, but I can guarantee you that none of you know what happened to all of the last picks in the NFL draft. And that's why they call it Mr. Irrelevant. While being Mr. Irrelevant sounds like it sucks, it's actually kind of awesome because after the draft, they get invited to Newport Beach, California for a week of golfing, surfing, going to Disneyland, and they even get honored at a ceremony. For most, this is the highlight of their pro career because they might not ever see the NFL field, but others have defied all odds. Today, I'll be detailing the last 10 Mr. Irrelevant. Some of them are still in the league, and others, we really don't know what they're doing, but that's why I did the research for you. You know what? If this video does well, I'll pick one of the guys on this list who's working a 9 to 5 right now and do a full daily vlog with them. Yes, I'll make that happen. All you gotta do is smash the like button and subscribe. Before we get started, let's take our wildest guess. Who do you think will be Mr. Irrelevant in 2025? Gerald Christian. He started his college career in 2010 with the Florida Gators and had to stay through the coaching change from Urban Meyer to Will Muschamp in 2011, and things weren't working out in Gainesville. He wasn't getting the playing time he felt he deserved, so he transferred to Louisville of the ACC. His final 2 years of eligibility were solid. He scored 5 touchdowns as a senior on 32 receptions. The Arizona Cardinals were looking for extra tight end depth, so they snagged him with the 256th overall pick, and for his rookie season in 2015, Christian was getting reps in the final preseason game where he tore his MCL. Season done. He competed in the Cardinals training camp again in 2016 but was released. Luckily, the Buffalo Bills signed him a week later in September as a practice squad member, and October 4th, he was placed on the active roster. Christian played in 3 games, making 1 catch for 14 yards, and that's a story he could tell his grandchildren for life. But that 1 catch wasn't enough. He was cut after 3 games. From there, he had another practice squad stint in Arizona, got cut in 2017, spent time in the AAF, actually scoring a touchdown in 2019, and that was the last time he'd tie up the cleats. As far as what Gerald's doing today, he keeps a lot of his life private, but here's a picture of him and his family in Gainesville. I hope he's doing well. Here we go, guys. I found his LinkedIn. He's working in cybersecurity. Looks like he's killing it in the working world, and if you were in the same industry as Gerald, I recommend go request him, go reach out to him, and gain some of his advice. I am a big advocate of LinkedIn. Kalan Reed was a 4-year player at the University of Southern Miss out of the Conference USA during a rebuild process from 2012 to 2015. As a senior, he had a great season, 47 tackles and 4 picks. Reed's NFL tenure showed promise. He appeared in 7 games for the Titans, the team who drafted him. As a rookie in 2016, he recorded 3 tackles and had various snaps on special teams. In 2018, though, Reed injured his foot before the season began, and that led to him being released. But the Seattle Seahawks were quick to jump on him, signing him to their practice squad in October of that year. He was promoted to the active roster by November, but in 2019, things catastrophically ended. Kalan suffered injuries to his vertebrae in the preseason that caused him to medically retire from football. Today, Reed seems to be living a peaceful life with his wife and kid. Professionally, he's still with the Titans, just behind the scenes as a personnel scout. You go and watch any of his interviews, he seems like a very genuine guy. Now, Chad Kelly definitely has the most interesting career on this list. He spent 3 years at Clemson, including a red shirt before he got kicked off the team. Yeah, from there he rebounded at JUCO and found his way to Oxford, Mississippi before 2015. He became kind of a legend for Ole Miss because he found a way to beat number 2 Alabama and won the Sugar Bowl that year. But in 2016, he tore his ACL late in the season, and this of course lowered the limited draft stock he had. The Broncos took him as the 253rd pick in the 17 draft. He got his first and only lick of the field in October of 2018, where he took a knee. 10 days after his pro debut, he was once again in trouble. The Broncos released Kelly after he committed second-degree criminal trespassing, but the Colts didn't care. Criminal or not, they signed him a year later in 2019. He was promoted and demoted from the practice squad to full-time squad many times over a year span before his NFL career was finished in 2020. But that hasn't stopped him from balling out in the Canadian Football League. Kelly's a 2-time champion and MVP with the Toronto Argonauts, and at one point he signed the highest paying contract in the league, worth nearly $2 million. Chad Kelly might not be the greatest role model off the field for you children watching, but on the field, his story of determination is one you can learn from. Before we talk about college, this guy represented the state of Louisiana in the 2008 Little League World Series and threw a no-hitter. Anyways, Trey Quinn began his college career at LSU in 2014 before transferring to SMU, where he led the nation in receptions per game during his junior year of 2017. He decided to forego his senior year, and if he played today, I bet you he would have stayed because of NIL, which ultimately would have improved his draft stock. Quinn's NFL career started with potential. He earned a spot as a slot wide receiver and punt returner with Washington directly after the draft, and in his second pro season during 2019, he played a whopping 12 games, starting 6 of them, catching 26 passes for nearly 200 yards and scoring a touchdown. He scored twice in his pro career. However, injuries plagued him, causing Washington to move on. From 2020 to 2022, he was a practice squad player with the Jaguars, Raiders, and Broncos. In 23, he played for the UFL, returned to the NFL with the Lions for a few months, went back to the UFL for the 24 season, and just recently announced his retirement from the sport a few weeks back. Trey's current professional career is unknown, but him and his wife just announced their first child on the way. Congratulations. Caleb Wilson made a name for himself at UCLA, where he broke various school records, but before that he actually played for the rival USC, where his dad Chris was the defensive line coach. But once Pops got fired, Wilson switched to the crosstown rivals for good reason. In 2018, he finished the year with 60 receptions and 965 receiving yards, plus All-American honors. Wilson elected not to use his final year of eligibility, and although his numbers were great, he lacked any one attribute that stood out, whether it was blocking, route running, or pass catching. The Cardinals gave him a shot as number 254 overall in the 19 draft, but before he got a chance, he was waived in training camp, signing with Washington's practice squad right before 2020. That didn't work out either. Washington waived him in August. A day later, the Eagles came calling. Philly decided to promote him to the active roster in November of 2020, and he was in the lineup for 5 games. Wilson got to live out his childhood dream of playing in the NFL for 9 snaps with 0 targets and 0 receptions. A year later in 2021, he ended his career gracefully with the Broncos. He didn't get cut, but his contract ended in early 2022, and he decided to hang up the cleats himself. In 2025, Caleb's an assistant wide receiver coach at the University of Washington under Jedd Fisch, and who knows, maybe one day he moves up the ladder and head coaches big-time FBS football, and you could say that you knew about him first because of this video. This story is good, but bad. It's a mix of emotions. You'll understand in a second. Tae Crowder transitioned from running back to linebacker during his time at the University of Georgia from 2015 to 2019. He developed each season. He was a part of the Bulldogs team that made it to the national championship and fell just short to Jalen Hurts and Tua in 2018. The New York Giants gave him a shot, and it was a massive steal. His 2020 rookie season was great. Despite battling injuries, he started in 6 games, returned a fumble for a touchdown, got a sack, and made 57 total tackles. By year 2, Crowder was a starter and one of the key contributors on the Giants defense. He picked off future Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts, one of 2 on the season, and also led the team with 130 tackles. He started in all 19 games, but this just goes to show you how fast teams move on in the NFL. In 2022, Crowder started the first 8 games with slightly less production than usual. He was benched by week 10, and before Christmas, he was waived. Yes, it's a cutthroat business. In the offseason of 2023, Crowder tried to revive his career before being passed around from the Steelers to the Chargers and eventually the Titans, where he didn't play a single snap that year. Crowder's NFL career was over by the time 2024 came around, but just last month, in January of 2025, he got new life in a different league. Tae Crowder will be playing in the UFL for the Birmingham Stallions in March. So everyone watching, including myself, we're all going to tune in to watch Tae ball out. I'm a Stallions fan now. Birmingham Stallions. I know nothing about the UFL, but whatever. Let's get into it. Grant Stuard was a 4-year player at the University of Houston back when they played in the American Conference. During his 2020 senior year, in a shortened season, Stuard led the entire conference in tackles per game, but it would be his versatility and special teams prowess that would be enough to get him selected in the draft. It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who had the final pick in 2021. As a rookie, he got limited time, but made the most of it with a forced fumble and 15 tackles. He was shipped up to Indianapolis in a trade before 2022, and that's where he's made a name for himself. Stuard provides depth at linebacker, but he is a beast on special teams. His playing time has increased each year until it's reached its pinnacle in 2024. He appeared in all 17 games for the Colts, started in 5, including a game where he racked up 19 tackles versus Miami. Grant is a free agent this offseason in 2025. I hope someone picks him up. They should pick him up, and if they don't pay him, I'm going to pay him the steal of the century, as I'm sure many of us know. Purdy had a fantastic career at Iowa State, three-time All-Big 12 while setting 32 school records. But come draft season, he was on no scout's radar. He wasn't athletic enough. His arm wasn't strong enough. He didn't wow anyone at the combine. So he had to wait days and nights to hear his name called 262nd overall by the San Francisco 49ers. After Trey Lance and Jimmy G got injured in 2022, Purdy took over as the starter and never looked back. Later on, Purdy became the first 49ers rookie quarterback to start and win a playoff game in the wild card round. Then in the divisional round, he became the third quarterback since 1970 to win 2 playoff games in his rookie season. Although through injury, Rookie of the Year Brock Purdy and the Niners fell in the NFC Championship, 2023 would be even more magical. No matter what you say about system QB, Purdy led the entire league in QBR for 23, was a Pro Bowler and an MVP finalist, all while leading his team to a Super Bowl. Yes, Purdy dealt with injuries in 2024, with his numbers and play taking a hit, and it was an overall disappointing year for the Niners, but people become too critical and forget this guy wasn't supposed to be anything in the NFL. Things are going to get interesting moving forward with Brock Purdy. He's now available for a contract extension, but all of that aside, he is the poster boy for Mr. Irrelevant. Desjuan Johnson played at Toledo for 5 seasons starting back in 2018. Shout out to the Mid-American Conference, also known as the MAC, also known as MACtion. Johnson's senior year was a monster one, getting him at least some notoriety on the draft boards, totaling 65 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 1 INT. But his athleticism at the pro day wasn't anything special to write home about, which we've learned scares scouts away. The LA Rams got him at pick 259 in 2023, and with Johnson's motor, he was not going to be one of those guys who was stuck on the practice squad. As a rookie, he appeared in 11 games with a forced fumble and 2 sacks. He earned time again in 2024, even sacking Sam Darnold in the wild card round against Minnesota a few months ago. I have a good feeling Johnson will move his way up and find a permanent spot in the league. This story is still in its very early stages. Jaylen Key spent his first 3 seasons in college at UAB, becoming an all-conference guy in the Conference USA. But when 2023 came around, he felt like he could run with the big dogs, and he did. Key hit the portal and was snagged by Alabama in Coach Saban's final season. He won over a starting job, got 60 tackles plus a pick, and got to appear in the Rose Bowl college football playoff. The Jets took him 257 overall in the 24 draft, but things didn't last too long for Key in New York. Kind of like Aaron Rodgers, he was demoted to the practice squad at the end of training camp and fully released by October. In mid-December of 2024, the Bengals decided to give him a chance on the practice squad, and now Jaylen Key will be competing for a roster spot in Cincy's 2025 training camp and is writing his Mr. Irrelevant story as we speak. My final question for you guys, what is the future of Mr. Irrelevant? Is he going to get better compared to the years past because college football is NIL transfer portal? You're going to have more mature players coming into the league? I don't know. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. I've been Saturday Shenanigans, your home for unfiltered football content, and I'll see you guys soon.